Well, everybody, after a little bit over 2 years of ownership, I finally broke something expensive on the Renegade. I broke the rear diff. Pretty sure I ripped a couple teeth off of the ring gear, make some terrible noises every couple of rotations. So it's time for some Billet. Got the specialized ATV Billet diff. Got this one because I'm planning on eventually putting some real power to this thing. I don't know if it's going to get some nitrous, maybe big bore. I might go the other route. Might go low compression, might go turbo. If you guys would like to see this thing with some more power, go ahead, drop a comment down in there. Let me know what you think. We're going to get right down into tearing it apart and get my new diff put in. Now, one of my buddies claims that he did a rear diff on a Gen 2 this past weekend without even taking off the rear tires. So, we're going to give it a shot. See if he's full of it, see if it's even possible. So we are going to start this here project by pulling off this rear brace and this little toe bracket, getting them out of the way. Alright, you can see we got that brace and that bracket off. These were 13 millimeters, the 4 going through here with nuts behind them. Then we had these other 2 bolts. Yeah, they were 15. So now we got the remaining 3 15s. We got one there, one there, one there. And we're going to see if we can slide this diff back a little bit. Alrighty, we got all the bolts out. Now the next step is going to be sliding the diff back a little bit towards me and then seeing if we can't disconnect that drive shaft. The drive shaft's going to have one 13 millimeter bolt pointed in this way. It's coming right in the middle of that yoke. See if we can't get that loose. Yeah, I'm just looking at this and checking the space. I'm going to go ahead and just pull off these rear tires, pull off the rear control arms. My buddy claims that you can take this brace off here. That's got some mountings on the fuel tank and back and encapsulated bolts. And you know, honestly, I think it's going to be more work trying to get this brace off than just going ahead and popping the control arms off on either side. So I'm going to go ahead and get it in the air, get these back wheels off, and then we'll show you what to do next. Up next on the agenda, we're going to go ahead and pop off this center cap. See if we can get a little leverage behind her. There it is. And then we're going to take out this cotter pin, get that nut off. We're going to take off one part of this sway bar, take off one part of this, unbolt the caliper, get that swung out of the way. Basically get this, get it ready to take this big nut off and get the control arm out of the way so we can get the axle out. First off, just want to apologize for the fan noise. Got hot out here. I gotta have a fan going blowing on me. Yep, we unbolted the caliper, got the brake rotor and hub off. We got the suspension unbolted from here. There was one rivet that we had to drill out. I usually just go back with a zip tie there. We got that bolt out. The only bolt left holding this control arm in is that one. We're going to go ahead and do all this to the other side before we start ripping the control arms off. Alright, we got everything taken apart on this side. Now we're going to take and impact that nut off. Really doesn't matter which side you impact the nut off. I'm going to throw a wrench on one side and then use my big guy on the other side. It's a lot easier with 2 people, but I don't have 2 people, so we're just going to make it work by propping the wrench up against the skid plate. Alrighty, we got both control arms off, both axles out. Big note, when you go to put these control arms back in, I always fill them with a lot of grease, because if you don't do that, that bolt can seize in there, make it a real pain to get out. I do have to do quite a bit of beating to get the bolt out this time anyways. Even though I greased it, you can see rust forms along this and just seals there in your bushings. So make sure, put lots of grease on it. Go ahead and slide this bushing back on here so we don't lose that. Now all that's left is that one bolt in the front. You can see a lot better now. Once downside that 13 millimeter, and she should slide right out the back. Alright, we we got the old one out, sitting over here. It's definitely trash. And got plenty of room for the new one. While I was in there, made sure to grease the U-joints. You can see they have grease zerks on them. Go ahead and pump full of grease before you put it back together. If your drive shaft slides apart, make sure you got it in phase when you're putting it back together. And yeah, it's time to put the new guy in. All right, new diff is in. She's the shiniest thing on the four-wheeler by far. It helps when you're putting it back in if you start the drive shaft sliding on there. And then get it kind of half in there, and then you start the bolt in there. I like to use a ratcheting 13, makes it a lot easier. When you're going back together with everything, remember grease is your friend. Put some grease on these splines, grease on the inside of these, grease on these. Just grease everything so the next time you have to work on it, she comes apart easy. Go ahead and slap her back together and we'll see how she rides. Well,